Most women think magnetism comes from being painfully beautiful, extremely confident, or highly charismatic, even. But if you've ever watched a woman walk into a room and suddenly everyone is paying attention to her, you'll notice something strange. She's not trying very hard. She's not talking the most, and maybe she's even selective with her attention. She's not laughing the loudest and causing attention towards herself. And let's be honest, sometimes she's not the most conventionally attractive or even best dressed, yet somehow people continue to gravitate toward her. Men notice her, women study her. You may even notice sometimes the ladies will get together and start speaking among themselves and wondering who this chick is. We've all seen that happen, right? With the elder aunties at the party when the little hot thing walks in and suddenly kind of stops the show and they're like, oh, who she thinks she is. And nobody can quite explain why her aura is warranting this kind of response, right? What most people call magnetism is actually a set of subtle behaviors these women have mastered. And more importantly, it's psychological. And today, I'm going to share with you the 5 dark feminine traits that create that effect. The first trait that creates magnetism is detachment. Now, do not mistake, detachment does not mean you do not care. It means your happiness doesn't depend on the outcome. I chose detachment as the first trait actually because from what I've observed and experienced, it anchors everything else if you get it right, and it really helps us to self preserve. So, to master detachment, right, the first component of mastering detachment, you need to become emotionally independent regardless of the outcome. Okay? Now, when it comes to striving towards things in life, I know we all love setting goals and things of the sort because that's just the human experience, right? Whether you're male or female. But what I want you to understand is that outcome is very masculine focused, and input or focusing more on the process is more feminine. Well, not even more feminine, it is feminine in nature, right? You should not be wanting anything too much. When you want things too much, you end up putting that thing on a pedestal and you are now in the lesser down position. When the person feels that they are higher up above you, or they feel like you're putting them in that position, it subconsciously communicates to them that something is wrong with you, right? When you're probably just a loving, caring, maybe anxiously attached person, and those aren't your intentions, that is what's being subconsciously communicated. Okay, this is part of human nature. Also, this really plays into a universal principle I love to refer to. It's called the law of balanced forces, meaning that when you crave something and when you want something so badly, you create something called excess potential. And excess potential in nature is not natural, right? So nature likes to balance out whatever it is. So it loves to create balance or homeostasis, if that's a better way to help you understand what it is. So if you want something super bad, you're creating that excess potential, therefore pushing that thing further and further away from you. This is where we hear things like don't chase, attract all of the time, because it's actually very effective. Because what's happening on an energetic level, if you saw what was happening on an energetic level, then you would understand, even more. So taking things off of the pedestal and removing the halo effect from either people, places, or things, right? You should not have any desire that you want so badly that it's just constantly on your mind and taking over your life. So, to combat this, you need to create systems in your life that's going to help you focus on the process of accomplishing the goal that you're wanting to obtain. Whether that be a person that you're wanting to attract, maybe you're going through an identity transformation. You should be focusing on your process. What should you be doing to become the type of woman that wants to attract a certain partner in your life? Focus heavily on the process. Do not focus so much on the kind of partner. which the partner in this example represents the outcome. The process to you becoming a better woman is the process. That's the feminine. Focus on the feminine portion of your transformation. So another great way to think about this in nature is sexy time. Yes. So during sexy time, there is the process, aka the foreplay, okay, process. It's fun, it's long, it's filled with desire. You're feeling yourself. If everything is feeling good, it's leading up to your pinnacle. For the girlies who have watched the latest season of Bridgerton, I see you, I see you. Yes. So the pinnacle is representative of the masculine portion of the process, right? Now think about this entire process. What do you think you're going to enjoy more? Of course, the foreplay session, because the climax is also nice, but the process is what really makes things juicy, right? So take that and put it toward whatever goal that you have. Think about that. Always force yourself to go back to thinking of your process. Remember, create a system that's going to kind of force you to focus on the process, because you don't want to focus too much on willpower. Think of a system that's going to help you focus on the process, and therefore the outcome will naturally take care of itself. The neediness destroys attraction. I'm going to let you in on a little secret, okay? The reason you are obsessing over something, or either like clinging heavily to it, it could be a thing, person, place, or thing, whatever. It's because deep down inside, there's a certain part of you that feels unworthy of that thing, believe it or not. And this is where shadow work is essential, and doing deep inner work. Journaling for 15 minutes, I like to call it a stream of consciousness, will help you come to realize what's hiding deep in your psyche, causing you to feel that way. The journaling session, or whatever method you use to come to realizing what the issue is, I would highly recommend hypnosis. That is my favorite way to go in and reprogram your subconscious mind, to start naturally attracting the things you want at an easier rate, right? Because also, people chase what feels difficult to obtain, right? This is why men always want the girl that the other men want, right? There's hundreds and thousands of other women, but they literally become blind to those other women, and they want the one that all of the other guys want. And that literally applies to everything else in life. We always want the thing, and this also applies to men too. There's a lot of women who want a certain type of guy that is not super accessible, right? I feel like that's why that content that kind of preys on people, teaching people how to become part of the 1%, and teaching them how to use their fork and a spoon, how you should drink your tea, and how you should do this, that, and the other to get into 1% circles. People are just naturally drawn to things that are difficult to obtain. So don't be so available, be very scarce in with your energy, with your time, with your resources. Attachment is so important. It's so important, right? Because also this is the secret to relationships, especially with men, right? The male psyche is one that is very interesting. I highly recommend that you master this topic of the male psyche. I will be dropping more videos soon on the male psyche. It will help to learn how men operate, because it will make so much sense to you why they do the things that they do. And detachment is so important, because men cannot feel like they have a 100% hold on you, right? The minute that the man that you are in a relationship with, dating or seeing or whatever, the minute he really oversteps a boundary that's a non-negotiable for you, the best thing you can do, especially if you want to keep him, is to show that you are not afraid to walk away at any time. This applies to if you've been dating that man for 30 days, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because men love to test. They love to test women. I know that is not the most encouraging thing to hear, but we're living in a world of what is and not what we want it to be. This is reality. This is not playing games. This is understanding psychology, really, at the end of the day. So to give yourself the best bet And to understand and to mitigate risk and such things, it's important for you to know this kind of information. They will test you. They 1000% will. And each time they test you, it's important for you to recognize those tests and move accordingly. The quicker you are to walk away when a boundary is really overstepped, the better your chances of actually keeping him and him becoming the man that will literally die for you. Like, seriously. So, yeah, to do that, you need to learn how to detach. So, detachment changes the entire power dynamic because when someone, especially men, realizes they could actually lose you, that's when they start really paying attention. But attention alone isn't what creates magnetism. What actually pulls people in is the next trait. The second trait that makes a woman magnetic is emotional control. Not emotional suppression, emotional control. If you've been watching the videos in this series, then you probably already know that this is the creme de la creme of activating your dark feminine energy, baby. And few things are more magnetic than a woman who is completely in control of her emotions. This is my favorite topic, right? Because literally emotional intelligence is at the center of everything else, right? Everything is, it's at the center of everything, and it's going to determine how the bricks lay in your life when it comes to every and any area of your life. The first important thing you have to understand when it comes to emotional control is slowing down, ladies, slowing down and controlling your triggers. Now, when it comes to feminine energy in general, slowing down is a top feature because in your movements, when you're slower in your movements, slower in your responses, it really translate an energy of sexiness, right? Because a frantic woman, just imagine that in your mind, is not so sexy, right? She kind of comes off like, dude, take a chill pill or something. It's not as sexy. It's kind of uncontrolled, frantic. It can subconsciously even communicate that there's low self esteem, there's nervousness, and people pleasing there because those traits really correlate with people pleasing behaviors too. When you're like rushing, 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 right? Slowing down is huge as well when it comes to analyzing your emotions and controlling your triggers. Do not be so quick to act, especially if you are feeling triggered by something someone may have said, something that you've seen, because first things first, if people can see how you're triggered or what triggers you, you have given them so much power over you, you don't even realize. People love to test you in these ways as well. And they know if you are easily triggered, they know exactly what buttons to push to get a certain reaction out of you or to even get certain favors out of you, your resources. You're just very, very easy to control when people understand what buttons to push. So controlling your triggers, right? And even better yet, learn how to transmute your emotions, okay? If you're feeling triggered, take a moment to ask yourself, why am I feeling so triggered by whatever this person said? I know this person, whatever this person is saying is not true, right? Like if someone comes up to you and say, "Hey, your head is shaped like a koala." Are you going to get offended? No, because you know your head is not shaped like a freaking koala. So tell them to F off and go on about your business. Like, you know, you're that girl, right? So, literally, you have to understand that everything that people tell you most of the time is just projection. So, don't take what someone is telling you seriously anyway, because you're going to be wasting so much time literally stressing over nothing because that person is just most likely unhealed or they are just a child in an adult body is what how I love to think about people oftentimes, right? Because that's how most people, that's the mentality most people are in. So take the time and ask yourself, why is this triggering me? Write it down and feel your emotions. This is the best way to transmute a trigger and to get over it. You need to sit with it and you need to feel it. Even if it's ugly, you may even break out into hives. I remember when I was going through my healing journey and I would legitimately have serious back pain, lower back pain. I would feel like someone would be sitting on my chest because releasing triggers from your body and just healing in general is not a pretty process. It's quite hard. All right. It's listen, I hate that we gotta do this, but it gotta be done because here's the secret. Once you heal yourself from your triggers, do you know naturally in your energetic body, your aura, it's like removing a bunch of rocks off of something, and underneath the thing that the rocks were sitting on top of is something so soft, so juicy. That's your feminine energy. Your feminine energy is already there. Your attraction capabilities and all of that, it's already there, believe it or not. You just have to heal your triggers so that it naturally comes about. That's the secret. You already have an aura, babes. Just control your triggers, transmute them, and it'll naturally come about. You don't even have to do too much. And when you become this calm energy, people are very, very, very attracted to that, right? Because people love stability. I met a new friend the other day, and this is our third time speaking a couple days ago. And she said, I want to tell you this, that when I speak to you, I feel very grounded. And that was such a compliment for me because I used to be so chaotic energetically. So her telling me that, I'm like, wow, if you seen the kind of woman I was, years ago, girl, you would not be making that statement. But that just goes to show that, people really can feel your energy. All of us, we have an energetic bubble around us, and it kind of sprouts out, I think, about 3 to 5 feet. I may be mistaken, but people can feel it when they come within your bubble. Like, I know that my bubble is probably feels refreshing because of the amount of work I've done to transmute my emotions, which naturally makes you magnetic. People are constantly walking up to me. I've had people walk up to me and ask to take my picture before, like I'm some celebrity or something, but it's just the aura, okay? Healing your emotional triggers is key to this. I'm telling you, it will change your life. So when you master emotional control, you become very difficult to manipulate, and people start treating you differently. Cuz like I always say, you teach people how to treat you, or better yet, the energy you emit teaches people how to treat you. So emotional control is important, but that's also not enough to create magnetism. The third trait is where things start to really get interesting. So the third trait that makes a woman magnetic is mystery. And this is where most women accidentally destroy their own magnetism because they believe connection comes from being completely open immediately, oversharing, over explaining themselves, telling their entire life story on the first interaction with someone that you've met. And I know as women, we are honestly biologically wired to do that. That is not random, actually. It's very primal, where the feminine was literally designed to connect, to nurture. That is what we so deeply desire, probably more than anything else, really. And it's hard sometimes for us not to overshare because we want to be relatable and we want to show the other person that we're connecting with, that we understand them and that we're there with them because we're actually very empathetic too. But it's so important that we do not overshare and tell all of our business because it kills attraction like nothing else, right? There are women who would go on a first date with a man and start telling the man everything about them. And I mean, not just the good things, more so the bad things. I've actually seen this. Oh, I've seen this happen, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why would you say that? Just telling them things about how men have treated them in the past. This is a really big no no. This is a big no no. You don't want to do that. Never tell a man about the bad things that has happened to you, with especially from other men. You are subconsciously communicating to him what you would tolerate. And even though you are a changed person today and you may not tolerate those things anymore, how the male psyche works, he will see it as such, right? Don't tell him about your crazy family drama either, right? He does not need to know about your auntie who's obsessed with her pastor because she swears the pastor is an alien. So when she comes to the cookout and trying to explain it to everyone, and they don't want to listen, she gets violently upset and starts to line everyone up to get into fights with them and end up leaving out of the party in a tinfoil hat with with them people in the white truck, okay, to take care of her for maybe another month or two with the what do we call it online, the grippy sock vacation. Okay, he don't need to know about that. He does not need to know about that. Okay, curiosity drives attraction. Okay, leave some room for him to be curious. Don't speak too much about your family. Don't speak too much about your past. Now, if you become, if you guys get together and you guys are together for a good while, a long time, and you want to share something, then that's the only time I would say it's okay. But even then, really, just honestly don't do it. Another huge mistake that women do is telling their man that they're listening to content like this, right? Like, oh, I was listening to this online teacher and she said that I shouldn't tell you these things, so I'm not going to tell you. Don't do that. Mystery, ladies, mystery. Keep the mystery. Just listen to this type of content and let it sink into your bones and let it change you from the inside out. Let information right. He doesn't need to know these things. Let his imagination fill the gaps. And this is also with people too. Don't overshare, your business with people. I remember I met this girl a few years ago, and on our first encounter, I met her through a friend, right? We had a friend and whatever. And on our first encounter, she told me, I really love your energy and all of these things. And she was telling me that she's like a tarot teacher and all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't believe in those things, but I always give people their platform to speak on their passions, right? Without needing to believe in it. So she was explaining that, and that was cool. And then somehow the conversation went into her coming out of a very abusive marriage, she said, of like 10 years or something. And how her ex-husband wanted to have an open relationship, but he wanted to be the one getting into the open relationships, and he didn't want her to get into the open relationships. And she told me that she was like, living with her sister, sleeping on the couch, and now she's finally getting her life together. And I wasn't judging her. People tell me their business all the time, if I'm being honest. And I just sat and I became a witness for her. Like, I just sat there and I witnessed her being raw and vulnerable. And then the next few encounters, I saw this friend and we were all supposed to get together. The girl who told me everything, she didn't come. And I would ask my friend, well, what happened? She would always come up with an excuse as to why she didn't want to come. And then eventually I found out that she pretty much was just embarrassed from how much she shared with me on our first encounter, and basically just didn't want to show her face again. So to prevent these things from happening, just don't tell people very personal, raw things that you think will compromise you later. You know what I'm saying? social media has really Social media culture has really gotten us into a bad habit of doing this, right? And sometimes, I mean, I like a little tea, especially on TikTok. The story times on there are just wild. I've never heard story better than Netflix, let me tell you. But in the long run, it can be very damaging, and it really trains people to lose respect for you. And like I said, a lot of this is happening subconsciously because people then feel like they know you. And when people feel like they know you, then they become too comfortable, and then that's when the disrespect starts, right? Okay? That's just human nature, okay? So, leave some mystery even with your man. Like back to the men, ladies. You don't have to tell him everywhere you're going or everything you're doing. Sometimes let the element of surprise be a thing. Come inside of the house one day with a brand new smelling perfume he's never smelled on you before. Make sure it's kind of strong too, right? Even if you've gone to the mall and tried on a couple perfumes. Oh my God, I'm really loving that perfume. I really want to buy it. It's by Killian. What is it called? I think it's Angel Share, but it has like the bourbon a note in there. It's divine, let me tell you. Yeah, anyway, go try something, come in the house and let him ask what is that? And have him guess. Make it into a fun game or something like that. Try a new recipe, literally, what like that is so different from what you would usually make. And keep him like all of these things, keep him on his toes, okay? If you're in the kitchen one day, put on an apron and throw on some heels, okay? as you're cooking or baking. I promise you, all of these things is going to just throw him off. It sounds like so ridiculous, but I promise you, it works like a charm. Okay. And this is for the opposite. If he's acting up and not acting like himself, being short with you, being distant, even if you guys live together, and if you have a friend or a family member that you're really close with, I would say go and take a weekend, right? And just let him know, hey, I'm going to spend time with Aunt Lucy this weekend. I just really want us to get close. I feel like there's just been a little distance between us lately. So, you don't mind, right? Let him ask, oh, wait, what you mean? Like, why are you going to oh no, I just really feel like I need that girl time. That's all. He already knows that men, because men are not stupid. He knows that deep down it's because of his behavior, right? But this is how you get them to correct their behavior. You don't have to directly address what he's doing. Just change your behavior, and then it's gonna change his behavior. And then I promise you, once you come back from that 1 to 2 days away, he's going to be kissing your feet like a queen. I mean, when you come home, the red carpet may be rolled out, dinner going to be cooked, house spotless. Like, works like a charm, ladies. Works like a charm. Yeah. So, yeah, keeps him very emotionally invested, keeps him intrigued, keeps him on his toes, keeps him thinking, keeps him wondering how can he continue to further impress you. Never be in a position where you feel that you have to impress someone. Always put yourself in a position to think, how can that person impress me? That's a huge game. That little shift in perspective will change so much for you. Just watch. Just do it. Just do it and come back and tell me how it worked. So remember, magnetism does not come from revealing everything. It comes from revealing just enough, just a little, little sample to keep them curious. You know what I'm saying? The moment people feel like they have completely figured you out, the intrigue disappears, zaps away. So this is actually one of the secrets of seduction that people rarely talk about. The fourth trait that creates magnetism is contrast. This is something that most people feel, but very few people understand. It's even harder to explain, really, because it's so energetic. Magnetism often comes from contrast in energy: warm, but not always available; playful, but occasionally serious; kind, but capable of walking away. That contrast creates emotional tension in the brain of others. And tension is what keeps people thinking about you. And when you're too predictable, it becomes boring. They feel like they figured you out. This is why in long-term relationships sometimes the spark can fizzle a bit, because the guy feels like, oh, I feel like I already know everything about her. Especially if you're one of the girlfriends or wives that is very much in their mother energy, and you're constantly hovering him and monitoring him and telling him what to do and making sure that he took his like supplements for the day. Back up a bit. Okay, stop being so predictable. Like, if that is what you usually do to instantly create some tension, just stop doing those things one day. And then have him come looking for you like, where's my woman? Like, what? Why is she not on me? She not reminding me to take my supplements. She not doing this. She's not doing that. What's going on here? Let that tension be created, that naturally creates intrigue. This is also why you see the hot and cold method that some teachers teach is so effective, because the brain remembers emotional highs and lows. It's very addicted to that, right? So sometimes presenting hot, especially when the moment calls for it, you can't do this randomly. Okay. If he's doing everything he's supposed to be doing and more, and going above and beyond, you can't just come off and be cold, because it's going to come off performative. You have to see this as an art. It's like an art and a science, but more so an art, and understand when it's appropriate to be hot and sometimes when you should be a little colder. So think about a woman who is warm but very playful, right? And suddenly she becomes super distant when her boundaries are crossed. And she's not afraid of creating that awkwardness or that tension in the room when her boundaries are crossed, right? Like, the tension is so thick that you can cut it with a knife and she's just poised and composed in her energy, even though like 5 minutes ago she was so playful and giddy, right? That really makes you attracted to someone. It's like, huh, how is she able to switch in between that so effortlessly? You could be a motorcyclist, for example. Okay, that's an extreme example. But on the weekends, you love taking ballerina classes. You can be a mom or a businesswoman. For on the other end, you look like a Victoria's Secret bombshell. You know those women you meet or see online and they have like 5 children, but you could never tell because they look so fabulous. That is contrast. You could have a big sense of humor and at the same time be very stern when the moment calls for it, okay? All of that creates contrast and it's intoxicating to the human mind. This is what creates obsession in people because they never know what they're going to get. Like, I remember I was dating this guy one time and I'm a sucker for ice cream, okay? One thing about it, I'll do something strange for some ice cream. I'm kidding. I won't do something strange. But I love ice cream. And I was dating this guy, and one day we was just chilling inside of the house, and actually no, we weren't at the house. I think we were at a park or something. And an ice cream truck, started like riding by, and I got so giddy and excited to go get most profound flavor known to man, cookies and cream. It's so boring, but it's my favorite. And he was so just shocked watching that, but he was also smiling with such awe because he was so used to seeing me as this poised, composed lady who loves, drinking my kombucha out of a champagne glass, for Christ's sake. And here I am running towards the ice cream truck to stand in line in some heels with some other kids to get me some ice cream. Like, do you see the contrast there? Do you see how it makes you look interesting? It's like, huh, it just makes people think like, what else is there? There's so much to this person. The most magnetic women are not just one note personalities, they're multidimensional. They contain layers. They're soft but strong. They're so warm, but they have strong boundaries. They're playful, but they are also an authoritative figure. Those are the best bosses, by the way. And that contrast creates something very powerful. It creates depth. But contrast only works when it's supported by the final trait, which might be the most important one of all. The fifth trait that creates magnetism is having a rich inner world, a life, passions, interests, purpose. This all gives you a je ne sais quoi, okay? Something that exists outside of other people's approval. People are so drawn to those with a purpose, right? This is why influencers, celebrities naturally have this energetic signature that calls people in. They have so much aura built up, and all of those people giving them attention, because this is also a secret. The more people that give you attention, the more energy that you have and that you can use, and it really adds to your aura. And people love those people because they're honestly very purpose driven, right? Whether you like them or not, they're very passionate about what they do and they take it seriously. And we love to watch people get completely immersed and lost within their passions. Have you ever seen someone just play the piano so eloquently and it seems like they're doing it just like they're breathing air? It's so effortless. But the minute we try, it sounds like someone dying or something. You know, it's just so attractive to watch. It's highly magnetic. And having your own independent identity. This is why being authentic is so important. All right. And contrast, going back to contrast, actually creates that feeling of authenticity. Just having so many different parts to yourself. Like, when I think about authenticity, I always think about Cardi B, right? There's so many people that I know are not a huge fan of Cardi B, and she also has maybe even more people that love her because she's so authentic, right? That's really how she came up on her stardom. And Cardi B is interesting because she is just this like very just super big personality woman. She's talented at what she does. Like she makes music and she's made millions. She's come from literally went from rags to riches. And she's like a boss, right? At the same time. And while she was doing that and creating her career, she was also able to create a family and get married, even though to the roach that she was previously married to was just a hot mess. But still, she was able to hold a household down and still do the family life thing while having a very aggressive career, right? And being very successful. That's contrast. And at the same time, she's so authentic in her energetic signature. It's highly intoxicating, whether you like her or not. That is one aspect of her personality that people are obsessed with. How authentic she is, how she speaks. She doesn't care who you are. If she literally can speak to the president of the United States and she's going to talk exactly the way that she talks, right? On like to us online. Also, when you're self-focused and you're so immersed in your passions, in your projects, even in yourself, if you are your project, right? Being self-focused is very magnetic because like I always say, women who prioritize themselves are naturally prioritized because it signals to other people that I am a person of importance. So therefore respect me. Okay? If you make other people perk up when you get in their presence, right? Because of how self-focused you are and how rich your inner world is, and that you don't need anyone's validation to live a full life. You will go and do whatever you want. You want to take that pottery class, you want to travel by yourself to Tbilisi, Georgia or something. You want to learn Chinese. Like you just do whatever you want. You try every and anything. And anytime you're speaking with someone or catching up with something, there's always something new going on with you, right? That's highly magnetic. You're not just sitting around twiddling your thumbs all day or worried about a man or worried about what a man is doing. And also, like I always say, right, men can feel your energy, especially when you are so focused on him. You need to take him off of the pedestal. Men are so obsessed with women who have a rich inner world. They literally, all they want to do is be a part of your world. They just want to be a citizen in your world so they can watch you gallivant and dilly dally. That on its own, for some reason, just gives them energy. And I really think it's because masculine energy is one of burden, right? Men have it harder, right? when it comes to life. Because they are the ones who go out to different countries to fight for millions of people they don't even know to keep everyone safe. Meanwhile, we're worrying about what we're wearing the next day, right? So it's hard for them to access those emotions for themselves. So they love watching their woman. This is why men are so attracted to feminine women. This is why they say they want a feminine woman because it really gives them energy, right? But when you're so obsessed with him and you're constantly thinking about him, he's like, wait, what's going on here? He can feel that. He legitimately can feel that. And it's very repelling because it feels penetrating too. And he's the one who wants to be doing the penetrating. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to be penetrated. He is the masculine. So when you're so lean back in your feminine energy and you're creating your world, your inner world, and you're so immersed in what you have going on, he naturally is going to be pulled in towards that. You know what I mean? And it makes him obsessed with you. It makes him constantly thinking about you. He's even thinking, how can he make your world even better? Right? That's the key. That is the key. The most magnetic women aren't trying to attract attention. They're busy building a life that already fulfills them, and that energy is incredibly, incredibly attractive. So, as you can see, magnetism isn't something you force, it's something that naturally develops once you've mastered these traits: mystery, emotional control, detachment, contrast, and having a life that doesn't revolve around other people's validation. When these traits come together, you don't need to chase attention. Attention starts chasing you. And if you want to go deeper into this, I break all of this down in my book. I go into the psychology behind it, how to actually apply it in your daily life. It's filled with real world examples, and how to fully activate your dark feminine energy because that's also important when it comes to your magnetism. The book is available on Amazon. And I'm curious, which of these traits do you feel like you already have? And which one do you feel like you need to work on the most? Leave your answer in the comments.